In aviation, the most dangerous moment is often not the crash itself. It is the few seconds before it. When the crew realizes something is wrong, the aircraft is still moving, and there may be no room left to fix the mistake. In this video, you will see real plane crashes and emergency landings caught on camera. Some pilots kept control. Others ran out of time. Each incident shows what happened, how quickly the situation changed, and why small details can decide the outcome. On December 14, 2021, an Embraer Phenom 100 landed at Santa Rosa Airport in Brazil. The jet had arrived from Porto Alegre. At first, the landing looked normal, but after touchdown, the aircraft did not slow down in time. It rolled past the end of the runway, went down a slope, and stopped below the runway level. The aircraft was badly damaged, but everyone on board walked away without injury. What is confirmed is that the jet ran off the runway after landing. Public information shows that it could not stop before the runway ended, but one final cause has not been confirmed from the available reports. This is why landing distance matters. It is not just a number in a manual. Speed, touchdown point, braking, wind, runway length, and the choice to go around all matter. On a short runway, if the landing is not stable early enough, there may be no runway left to fix it.
Segundo as primeiras informações, apenas danos materiais ocorreu aqui nesse acidente no aeroporto municipal de Santa Rosa. A equipe do Portal Plural está aqui em primeira mão, sempre trazendo todas as informações e a cobertura ao vivo do ocorrido.
On May 3, 2026, United Airlines Flight 169 was flying from Venice to Newark, New Jersey. It was a Boeing 767 with more than 200 people on board. The aircraft was already on final approach. Everything should have been routine. But just before landing, the plane came in extremely low over the New Jersey Turnpike. Traffic was still moving below. Then, the jet struck a light pole and damaged a tractor trailer on the highway. For a moment, this was not only an aviation incident. People on the ground were in danger too. The aircraft continued to Newark and landed safely. Everyone on board was uninjured. The truck driver suffered minor injuries from shattered glass. The exact cause has not been confirmed yet. The FAA and NTSB are investigating why the aircraft was so low on final approach. This incident shows how small the margin can be near a busy airport. On final approach, a few feet can separate a safe landing from something much worse. In February 2008, an IL-76 cargo aircraft began its takeoff roll at Canberra Airport in Australia. At first, nothing looked wrong. The engines were running, the aircraft was moving, and the takeoff continued. But the large cargo plane stayed on the runway for a long time. It kept rolling closer and closer to the far end of the runway before it finally lifted off. There was no crash, and no official report has confirmed that the aircraft was overloaded or that the crew made an error. What the video does show is a very long takeoff run, with only a small margin before the aircraft became airborne. This is the lesson. Heavy aircraft need more than power. They need enough runway, correct weight planning, good weather conditions, and accurate takeoff calculations. When those margins become small, even a normal takeoff can look dangerously close.
I shouldn't say that even in joke, should I? Huh? That's okay. Well, that will be worth copying.
Yes, please. On April 5th, 2008, a historic P-51 Mustang was flying a passenger from Point Cook near Melbourne, Australia. It was meant to be a joy flight, but during the flight, the landing gear would not come down properly. The pilot, John Dorward, stayed in control and prepared for a gear-up landing. He burned off fuel, kept the aircraft over the airfield, and gave emergency crews time to get ready. The Mustang came in low over the grass. The gear was still up. Dorward kept the airplane straight, touched down on the belly, and let it slide across the grass until it stopped. The aircraft was damaged, but both the pilot and passenger got out safely. The problem was later linked to the landing gear door system. A broken hinge on one of the doors stopped the gear from lowering normally. This landing shows what matters when a mechanical problem cannot be fixed in the air. The pilot managed the speed, chose the safer surface, kept the airplane aligned, and made a controlled touchdown. It was not luck alone. It was calm flying under pressure. On May 10, 2022, a Cessna Caravan was flying from the Bahamas toward Florida. Then, the pilot suddenly became unable to continue flying. There were 2 passengers on board. Neither one had flying experience. One of them, Darren Harrison, took the controls and contacted air traffic control. At first, he did not even know exactly where the aircraft was. All he could see was the Florida coastline ahead. Controllers helped locate the plane and talked him through what to do. Then, Robert Morgan, an air traffic controller and flight instructor, guided him through the final approach to Palm Beach International Airport. Step by step, Harrison kept the airplane lined up, managed the descent, reduced power, and brought the Caravan down safely. The landing was successful. No one on board was injured. This emergency could have ended very differently, but calm voices on the radio, clear instructions, and one passenger who refused to panic turned an impossible situation into a safe landing. On January 27, 2021, a Beechcraft Baron was returning to Parafield Airport in Adelaide, Australia. It was night, and the aircraft was coming back from a training flight with an instructor and a student on board. As they prepared to land, they found a serious problem. The nose gear did not appear to be safely locked. The crew used the manual gear system, but the warning still showed the front wheel was not secure, so they did not rush the landing. They took time to prepare while emergency crews got ready on the ground. On approach, the pilot kept the speed as low and safe as possible. The Baron touched down on its main wheels first. The pilot held the nose up for as long as he could, then the front of the aircraft settled onto the runway. Sparks came from the nose area, but the airplane stayed straight and under control. Both people on board were not injured. The problem was later confirmed as a mechanical failure in the nose gear system. This landing shows why patience matters in a gear emergency. If the gear is not safely locked, the crew has to slow down, follow the checklist, prepare the runway, and keep the aircraft straight until it finally stops. On January 18, 2018, a Eurowings turboprop was landing at Dusseldorf Airport in Germany. The aircraft was arriving during a major winter storm. The runway was in sight, but the wind was not making this landing easy. In the final seconds, strong gusts pushed the aircraft sideways. The plane kept shifting left and right as the crew worked to keep it lined up. This was not a smooth, easy approach. It was a fight against the crosswind almost all the way to touchdown. The pilots stayed with it, kept control, and brought the aircraft safely onto the runway. There was no crash. This landing shows that seeing the runway does not mean the danger is over. In strong wind, the crew has to keep judging the aircraft, the runway, and the option to go around until the last seconds. Sometimes, the safest landing is the one where the pilots are still ready to stop the attempt if the wind wins. On January 26, 2017, A Grumman Mallard amphibious aircraft was flying over the Swan River in Perth, Australia. It was part of an Australia Day air display. The aircraft had already made 2 low passes with a Cessna Caravan. Then the Caravan left the area, and the Mallard came back alone. As it prepared for another pass, the Mallard made a low left turn over the river, but the turn became too much for the aircraft. It stalled, rolled left, dropped nose first, and struck the water. There was no height left to recover. Both people on board were killed. The ATSB later found no mechanical failure that caused the crash. The aircraft stalled during the final turn, too low above the water for the pilot to save it. This is the hard lesson from the accident. A turn that may be safe higher up can become deadly close to the ground or water. In a low-level display, speed, turn angle, and staying with the plan all matter. At that height, there may be no second chance. On April 24, 2024, a Piper Cherokee was flying near Whitman Regional Airport in Oshkosh, Wisconsin. During the flight, a bird hit the windshield and broke through into the cockpit. The pilot had to continue flying with the damaged glass in front of him. Despite this, the airplane remained controllable. He turned back toward Whitman Regional Airport and landed safely within minutes. The pilot was not injured. The confirmed cause was a bird strike that shattered the windshield. The key point is that although the cockpit was damaged, the pilot maintained control and brought the airplane safely back to the ground. On October 18, 2020, a U.S. Air Force C-17 Globemaster III was landing at Kandahar airfield in Afghanistan. During the approach, the crew had a serious landing gear problem. The main gear was down, but the nose gear would not extend. The pilots touched down on the main wheels first. They kept the nose raised as long as they could, letting the aircraft slow down before the front finally settled onto the runway. No one was hurt. U.S. Forces Afghanistan confirmed that no enemy activity was involved. This was a nose landing gear failure. The key point is simple. Without the nose gear, speed and aircraft attitude matter even more. The crew had to keep the aircraft straight, slow it down carefully, and stop the nose from dropping too early. It was a tense landing, but careful flying kept it from becoming much worse. On May 4, 2026, a Mexican Navy Mi-17 helicopter was taking off from a naval base in Mazatlan, Mexico. Seconds after lifting off, the helicopter lost power. At that height, there was almost no time to climb, gain speed, or look for another place to land. The crew had to react right away. They brought the helicopter back down almost immediately. The landing was rough, and the helicopter was damaged. But the crew kept enough control to keep the situation from getting worse. The Mexican Navy reported that no one was injured. Official information points to a power failure during takeoff. No further cause has been confirmed yet. This incident shows why takeoff is one of the most dangerous moments for a helicopter. When power is lost close to the ground, there may be only seconds to act. Here, quick control and an immediate landing kept everyone alive. On March 29, 2026, Delta Flight 104 took off from Sao Paulo, Brazil, heading for Atlanta. The aircraft was an Airbus A330, with 272 passengers and 14 crew members on board. Shortly after takeoff, the left engine failed and caught fire. Flames and sparks were recorded as the aircraft climbed away from the runway. The crew shut the engine down, turned back to Sao Paulo, and prepared for an emergency landing. The Airbus returned on one engine and landed safely about 10 minutes after departure. Everyone on board got out without injury. Some engine debris also started a small fire near the runway. The final technical cause has not been confirmed yet. The key point is simple. The engine failed just after takeoff, but the aircraft stayed controllable and everyone on board survived without injury. On March 29, 2022, LATAM flight LA-4292 took off from Medellín, Colombia, heading for Cartagena. The aircraft was an Airbus A320. Shortly after takeoff, the crew received warnings about the nose landing gear. They did not continue the flight. They circled near Medellín, reduced fuel, and prepared for an emergency landing. When the Airbus touched down, the problem became clear. The nose wheels were turned almost 90 degrees from the normal position. As the front of the aircraft came down, the tires burst. Sparks came from the nose gear, and the aircraft scraped along the runway. But the crew kept control. The Airbus stayed on the runway and came to a stop. All 153 people on board were evacuated safely. No injuries were reported. Investigators later found that the nose wheels were already turned away from the correct position during takeoff. They also found a problem in the nose wheel steering system. The crew could not clearly confirm the wheel position from the cockpit. The key point is simple. The nose gear was badly misaligned, but the crew prepared the landing, kept the aircraft under control, and everyone on board survived without injury. On March 9, 2014, a small Fisher Celebrity biplane was landing during the Tyabb Air Show in Victoria, Australia. At first, it looked like a normal landing, but the aircraft touched down and bounced. Then it bounced again. The biplane did not settle on the runway. It drifted to the right, left the runway area, and went through a fence. Then it crossed a raised concrete walkway and came to rest on a road beside the airfield. The front of the aircraft was badly damaged. The pilot survived with minor injuries. No one on the ground was killed. Public sources do not show a final official cause, but the video clearly shows an unstable landing before the aircraft left the runway. The key point is simple. After a bad bounce, forcing the airplane back down can make the situation worse. If the landing is no longer stable, going around may be the safer choice. Once the aircraft starts drifting, there may be very little time left to recover.